The real estate market is going through a shift in 2025, and it actually started happening about 12 months ago. So I want to talk about opportunities for buyers in this market and where you should be paying attention to and what you should be paying attention to if you are a home buyer in 2025 and going into 2026. So we are seeing a lot of inventory hitting the market, which as a buyer, depending on which city you are looking in, you need to be paying attention to. In my market, for example, in parts of Southern California, some cities are having an immense amount of inventory hitting the market over the last 6 months. Where I live, in fact, inventory is up about 150%. If you're wondering, I am in Orange County, and some cities are declining in inventory while others are increasing substantially. And if you take a look at Los Angeles, we are seeing an enormous amount of homes hitting the market. I have a listing there right now, and in that area, some homes are selling for less than what they were purchased for in 2022. So there are a lot of competition if you are a seller, and if you are a buyer, you have a lot of opportunities right now to get homes for below list price. So let's talk about a couple of the opportunities that I'm seeing in the market and what you should be paying attention to if you're a buyer over the next 12 months. If you're new to the channel, my name is Ian Phillips. I'm a realtor in Southern California, and I'll be uploading weekly videos diving into the housing market, talking about what's going on with actual data backing it up, because there's a lot of incorrect information being talked about out there. So I just want to talk about the real facts. If you're looking for a realtor in Southern California, reach out. I'd love to chat whether you're buying or selling, and we can go over a game plan and see what makes the most sense for you. So what should you be paying attention to if you are a buyer in the market in 2025 and entering 2026? Well, it's no surprise that we are entering a period where the economy is not going to be booming as much as it was over the last 4 to 5 years. In my opinion, the housing market is probably just going to trend back toward more of a neutral market, and I don't think we're going to see 15-20% appreciation like we saw in 2020, 2021, and the first half of 2022. And in fact, if you look at the overall housing market, prices peaked in 2022. There's a video about that specifically on my channel if you want to check it out. It's about a 10-minute video comparing 2022 peaks to 2008 and seeing if there's any similarities going on. But going back to 2025, I think you need to be paying attention to active listings as a major factor for how much negotiating power you have as a home buyer. And that will determine how much below list price you can get the home for, or maybe you can get the seller to pay for some of your closing costs so you reduce your out-of-pocket expenses, or maybe you can get them to buy down your mortgage rate, because buying a home with a 7% mortgage rate versus a 6% mortgage rate is a huge difference, especially if you are a low down payment home buyer. So active listings is a major factor to pay attention to, because if you're noticing, oh, by the way, all you have to do is look at Redfin, look at Zillow, see what the active listings are doing, take a look at the chart. What's it doing in your market compared to a year ago? Because that'll give you a good idea of how much negotiating power you have. And if you're seeing active listings double compared to this time last year, that more than likely means there's going to start being a lot of price reductions like is happening in my market, and homes are going to be sitting on the market for longer. And sellers don't want to have their house on the market for 90, 100, 120 days when they know they're just going to have to drop the price multiple times. So the opportunity for home buyers right now is to start paying attention to those houses that are sitting on the market for 30, 60, 90 days. Maybe they had one price reduction. They still don't have any offers in hand. What you need to do is connect with your realtor or connect with me if you're in Southern California and start writing offers for 5% below list price, 10% below list price, and kind of gauge the interest from the seller. Because if you write an offer 10% below list price and they counter you, that means they don't want the deal to die. They want to keep that deal alive and see if they can get a little bit more money to close it. So if you write 10% below, maybe you end up buying the house for 5% below list price, and that's a pretty good deal in this market. And that is where I think a lot of the opportunity is for home buyers. Look out for those houses that are sitting on the market for longer. kind of gauge the interest that the seller has had. Get your agent to contact the listing agent, see what's going on with the property. Because if they don't have any offers in hand, I am happily writing 5 to 10% below list price. Now, the other key factor you need to be paying attention to as a home buyer is how many rental homes are hitting the market and how long those rentals are sitting on the market, because a large percentage of the homes that have been purchased over the last 3 to 5 years have been investment properties. And as someone who is always interested in investment properties, I've been monitoring the Texas and Florida market in the major cities like Houston and Dallas. And I noticed about a year ago that an enormous amount of rentals were hitting the market and they were not getting rented out. And in fact, they started having price reductions. And about 6 months after that, I noticed a huge amount of homes for sale were hitting the market. And that is because as investors, if you can't cash flow from your house, there's a good chance you're probably going to sell it, because a lot of people bought rentals in 2022, 2023 with higher mortgage rates. And if you buy an investment property, you have a higher mortgage rate than your primary residence. So if there are starting to be a lot of rentals hitting the market, rentals are sitting for 90, 100 days, they're reducing their monthly cost while they're on the market, there's a good chance that listings are going to follow. And remember, investors are eating the cost of the mortgage, property taxes, home insurance, which has increased by 100% in the last year, especially in California and Florida. So for those investors, they're not gonna wait too much longer to list their house if they're not able to get a decent paying tenant in place. They'd rather just sell it, take that cash, and put it somewhere else. So those are the major factors I think home buyers need to be paying attention to in their city, and that'll give you a good idea of what the market is doing. Are homes selling for above list price, below list price? And in my opinion, if a house is listed for way below market value, obviously it's going to get multiple offers over list price. And I'm seeing a lot of comments on social media from people saying, I toured this house, it got 10 offers in the first weekend, how are people affording these homes? And it's primarily because that specific house was just listed for 10, 15, 20% below market value, and they were getting a bidding war going on. So I don't think those are the homes that you should be paying attention to. Yeah, I know if a house is listed and you think it's worth $1.5 million and they're actually listing it for 1.2, obviously it looks very exciting to write an offer on that house, but it can be a waste of time knowing that it's going to sell for 20% over list price. So I think the opportunities are paying attention to the homes that are on the market for 60 days, no price reduction. Just get in there, write an offer for 10% below list price. Obviously, you need to love the home, and that is the most important thing, especially if you're going to be living in the house. But keep in mind that we are not in an environment, specifically with the way the economy is right now, where I think you need to be getting into bidding wars, battling out between 10 other buyers, seeing how high the house is going to go over list price. A similar situation happened to me in Orange County. We wrote an offer for $1.3 million on a house that was listed for 1.3. It ended up getting 6 offers and sold for $150,000 over list price. Now, in my opinion, that person overpaid for that house. And myself and my client, we were happy to say, you know what, they can have it for that price. Doesn't make any sense. And now we're just looking at other opportunities in the market right now. So that's my 2 cents on what you need to be paying attention to as a home buyer. And again, every single city is different. Some cities where I live in Orange County, it's still a very hot seller's market, while other cities, inventory has more than doubled in the last 12 months. Homes are getting price reductions, days on market is increasing, so it's very city and in some cases neighborhood dependent. Again, my name is Ian Phillips. I'm a realtor in Southern California. Love talking about the housing market, love diving into housing data. So if you're looking for more knowledge, more information on what's going on in the housing market, subscribe for more. If you're looking for a realtor in Southern California, reach out. I'd love to chat. We can go over a game plan, see what makes the most sense for you and your situation. I'll see you in my next video.